Welcome in. It's another edition of the Stingers Up, Sacramento State football podcast. Glad you're here with us this week. I'm Jason Ross. It's a bye week ahead for the Sacramento State Hornets. No game this week, and then finally some home games coming up for the Hornets. They'll be back in action at home next week against Eastern Washington. The week after that, also at home. So 2 straight weeks at home where they'll take on Weber State. We will look back, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on that game against Northern Arizona. We have to give it its proper attention. The Hornets losing their Big Sky opener. We'll talk about that. But this week, there's so much news going on campus. Had a chance on our local radio show to catch up with President Dr. Luke Wood. You'll hear that conversation. And I sat down with Athletic Director Mark Orr for this week's podcast. So lots coming your way, some conversations you're going to want to hear. But let's go back quickly first to recap the Northern Arizona game. As someone that's covered this team for a long time, worked with this team, that one was a stunner. I don't know another way to put it. Not so much that the Hornets lost. I think in Flagstaff, that's a tough place to play. Northern Arizona looks to be a pretty good football team. But it was more so the way the Hornets played, specifically in the second half. The game got away from Sacramento State. I felt being there, I was actually encouraged that it was 10-9 at the half. Felt like Sac State had been outplayed a little bit, but not as dramatically as it would be by the end of the game. But the first half, I was so impressed with NAU's defense. They kept blitzing. They were blitzing from a lot of angles. And whether it was freshman quarterback Carson Conklin, the offensive line, the running backs, the receivers, all of it combined, they just didn't seem to have an answer for when NAU would elect to blitz. And when you blitz, you roll the dice, you leave some things open. The Hornets couldn't find things that were open. Didn't seem to have a good counter to what NAU was doing. And again, still 10-9. It's anybody's game at the half. NAU has the first possession. And where the game flipped, they take about 7 minutes or so to score, and only got a field goal, though. But what the difference was from the 8:19 mark of the third quarter to the 7:10 mark, a matter of a minute and 9 seconds, the Hornets were outscored by 17 points. 17 points in just over a minute. That's what set the game apart. I mentioned that drive and field goal, so it's 13-9, anybody's game. Next was a sack, fumble recovery, scoop, and score, 20-9. Next possession, a turnover by the Hornets, returned deep into their territory, and they scored a few plays later, one play later, and now 27-9, middle of the third quarter, and you're in trouble. Hornets made it 27-16, had some other opportunities, ultimately lost 34-16, and so now they've got to work from behind here. They're back below 500 at 2-3, 0-1 in conference play, and have to pick up some ground. They'll have more home games the rest of the way, but in front of that loud crowd, family weekend, the blitzing, the good thing is, I think now everybody in the league has seen that film, and the Hornets have some time to prepare for Eastern Washington and Weber and Montana State and Portland State and all the rest of the opponents that are going to try to take slices of what NAU did. And so the Hornets have lived it, have gone through it. Now they need to prepare for it and be ready to go for when other teams do it. So I still believe in this team. They did not have their best week. That goes without saying. Credit to NAU. Now the important thing is the bye week, see how they regroup. Couple of the things to watch this week as the Hornets don't play. They'll hopefully watch some conference carnage. The games this week, Weber State at Montana. The Hornets will face Weber State in 2 weeks. You got Northern Colorado at Montana State. Montana State at the moment seems to be the class of the league. You've got Idaho State at Cal Poly. UC Davis on the road at Portland State. The Aggies had a big win against Idaho last week. And speaking of Idaho, they host NAU. That game will be really interesting to watch to see how NAU if they can add on to their impressive win over the Hornets and see what Idaho does after losing to the Aggies. So kind of a real important game to watch there as far as the standings go in the Big Sky. All right, so kind of push that game to the side. We'll preview Eastern Washington a little bit more next week, but did want to talk about the big news that's still hovering around the university, around the football program, around all of sports, is Sacramento State's stadium announcement and the Sac-12 out there, the desire to get this team in either the Pac-12 or the Mountain West. That's the goal of the Sac-12, obviously. The school is all in on facilities and getting upgrades, whether or not they move conferences at all. I told you that before, and that's still the stance that's coming from the school. But let's hear from the president himself. He obviously is very excited, very driven, has a vision mind here and thinking big things for Sacramento State, which I think are all very, very good things. So here's our conversation from the morning show. Carmichael Dave and myself, earlier in the week, we had a conversation with the president, Dr. Luke Wood.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Let's get this out of the way at the beginning because I've been kind of stressing out about this. So I introduced you, but then is it Is it Doc? Is it Luke? Is it Dr. Wood, Mr. President? There's like 8 ways we can go here. I just want to get it right.
So, it is. I do have a PhD. I am the president of Sacramento State, but I prefer just to go by Luke. That's the name that my parents gave me.
Okay. All right. Just want to be respectful. As you know, I am a huge fan of your brother. I'm a huge fan of what I believe is likely a family ethos. And as a native Sacramentan, as somebody who adores this city and wants it to grow, I can appreciate, Luke, the old adage, throwing your cap over the wall, you're committed, and really, I wouldn't say biting off more than you can chew. I hope not, but taking that bite, and it seems like you guys have taken a nice big bite out of the apple in the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we're serious about elevating Sacramento State, and one of the best ways that you can elevate an institution, a university, is through athletics. And we're fortunate that we've had some great teams. We've got Mark Orr, he's our athletic director, and we've got 21 sports, and 7 of them won conference championships last year. Another 3 played in the conference championship and didn't win. So if you think about that kind of record, and then if you look at what happened with Sacramento State football over the last 4 years, it's been to the playoffs, all 4 years. 3 of those 4 years won the conference championship. And I honestly think, despite the loss that we just had on the road for a number of different reasons, I think that we're going to have a great playoff run this year too. So, we got great sports teams, but it's time for us to continue to elevate Sacramento State sports, and one of the clear things that has been a challenge over the years is facilities. And so, we've got a plan for basketball. We'll have our new athletic facility for basketball opens up in December. That's phase 1. We're going to make that 2 phases. And so that was something that I did, within the first couple months of coming into Sacramento State. We did the FBS feasibility study and got the changes done on that. And then now we've got, the plan for the stadium that's going to do football, it's going to do soccer, it's going to do rugby. And then, of course, you probably heard yesterday that Sac-12 raised an incredible sum of money in less than 24 hours for name, image, and likeness, which is critical to being competitive at any level.
Luke, I was curious, too, about, we'll kind of get into all these things here, but of last week's announcement of the stadium, I was there for that exciting pep rally type feel of what could be coming and will be coming to Sacramento. But when you make that announcement, sometimes more things come up. You guys already have your plans on who's going to help with this and how you're going to get it done. But I'm curious, like when you get it announced, how many more people all of a sudden said, hey, I want to help, I want to support Sacramento State?
Oh, it's an avalanche of support. Major companies in the area asking if they can, help with namings, donors who are wanting to contribute, tenants who want to be part of being able to, have their teams play there. It's actually been incredible. Even yesterday, we were fielding calls the entire day of folks who are excited and in some ways are, moving it even farther than we had. And the truth is we're good to go. So we welcome that support because it's always beneficial, but we're in a great position and we're excited.
Dr. Luke Wood joining us, Sac State President. And in talking about this, I want to say, and Jason, I've said this both on the show and to you privately, I really appreciate how you, Josh, our old friend Ben Sisenko back east, everybody working on this has rolled this thing out. I think it's honestly genius from a PR standpoint and from a communication standpoint. I think a lot of people understandably assume, hey, they had this idea about a month ago when we heard about it, and then, they got the funding a couple weeks ago and announced the stadium and now the NIL. But we all know, or you and I know, and I think a few others, this isn't something that has happened in the last few days or few weeks. I'm imagining this thing's been cooking for a little bit. And as much as you're comfortable, just maybe go into the details of, when the eureka moment was, if there was one, and just all the work that's gone into getting to these announcements you guys have been putting out.
Yeah, it's been about 14 months of work and honestly, there were some important things that President Nelson did about 2 years ago that also were very helpful in terms of providing a foundation for it. But I kind of like saying that he did the horizontal development and we're doing the vertical, and that's kind of what's happened. But it's been about 14 months, from the FBS study, from the adjustment of resources that we've done, from the moving forward with a concept. It's been some time.
How much?
So what people see is just this last part, right? But they don't understand the grind it takes to get to this moment.
That's right.
Yeah, excuse me. How much does this parallel what you were able to do at San Diego State with Snapdragon? Are there similarities here with the two locations?
Well, actually, I do think there's a lot of similarities in terms of one of the things that I got to really just see as part of that being on cabinet when that was happening at San Diego State is how the campus organized the community around it. When you're talking about that, you're talking about your boosters, you're talking about your alumni, you're talking about your student community, you're talking about your local electeds. It's a substantial amount of work, but I got to see that up close. And so in many ways, that's what we're doing. We're taking, I would say, two different playbooks. We're taking the playbook from San Diego State in terms of what they did with Snapdragon. And the second is we're taking the playbook with what Kevin Johnson did with Vivek and bringing in the Kings and building Golden One. We're elevating things. Yep.
Dr. Wood, as we begin to wrap up here, I want to take a step to the side here because I think stories are magnificent, and I think they help make things happen. And I hope I'm not overstepping or making you uncomfortable. But when the process of doing the show, when we have guests on, especially ones that we haven't spoken to a ton, there's a bit of research. And I'm on your page, your bio page, and just amongst other things, including being a PhD, you've authored over 170 publications, 16 books. I could literally probably take the rest of the show and name off the things that you've done, but it's the personal life that caught me. It says that J. Luke Wood is a former ward of the court and foster child. He and his twin brother, Joshua, were adopted and raised in a foster home. Member of Alpha Phi Alpha, amateur boxer in the Masters Cruiserweight division. That's a movie. I mean, that is an absolute movie for you to have gone through what you went through. And again, I'm a huge fan of your brothers. The work that you guys have done in this community to help lift it to another level and the work you're currently doing. I'm sure you're not the type to sit back, look in the mirror, and pat yourself on the shoulder, but do you ever take a deep breath and look at where you were and where you are and just kind of shake your head as to how amazing that journey has been?
I have to say I'm blessed to have had the journey that I've had. But in my mind, we're just getting started. And here's the thing. I have, and based on that, based upon, how I came into this world and my early experiences, I am a person who thrives upon people who doubt, people who don't believe in the things that can be achieved. I said when I was a kid at Sacramento State that I was going to be president of this university, and I'm doing it. I said when I was a professor that I was going to be a distinguished professor, and I did that in 7 years. I said as a doctoral student I was going to publish my first book, and did that as a student. When I look back at everything that me and Josh and others who come from the same kind of background that we do, we box above our weight classes, and we do it in a powerful way. And I have the privilege of leading my alma mater, and I have so much love for Sacramento State. Sacramento State made me into who I am, and I'm going to be here for a really long time. And I kind of feel like in some ways Sacramento State's story mirrors mine. It's an institution that serves many low-income, first-generation students whose parents didn't go to college, and they're trying to create a better life for themselves and for their families, and it's a scrappy institution. And we show that in academics. We show that in athletics. And I think what people have been seeing over, this past 14 months, and particularly over the past several weeks, is we thrive when people doubt what we can create and what we can achieve. So we love a dark horse campaign.
Yeah. One last thought as we wrap things up. How about the $35 million at least that was publicly announced yesterday that was help raise for NIL? What does that do? And I know the target was 50. Sounds like you guys may even be able to get north of that.
Yeah, I was happy to hear. Obviously, keeping close tabs on what's been going on with the Sac-12, especially given the folks who are involved in leading the effort. Happy to see that's how much that was raised yesterday. I know that I know that as of today, there's only 10 left to go towards their goal of 50. So I'm excited for what they've been able to do. And I think if you think about this time frame, to do that in this kind of time frame is unheard of. So, but that's the amount of community support that's there. A local tribe that came in, some big donors that came in, and then a lot of people who contributed. I'm not going to share the details. I'll leave that to the Sac-12. But there's a story, a movie just to be made about how all that happened too.
$10 million, Jason.
Yeah. Should we fill in the pieces?
We could have a bake sale.
That's right. We could
do a car wash.
Yes.
Doc, we appreciate the time. Really appreciate the effort. Jason knows this. We had a meeting here, about 10 years ago with a bunch of Sac Statey people, and we're asking these questions like, how can we go to the next level? What is it? Why can't this is such a college town, and you can visualize barbecues and tailgating and a big college atmosphere and college game day here. I mean, if you can do it in Boise State and Fresno State, you can do it in Cincinnati and so many other states. Why can't you do it here? And finally, somebody smarter than us picked up the ball and ran it. And we're going to be behind you. There's no non-biased journalism here. We're in the tank, man. We want this thing to work out. And we're here to support you in any way. So appreciate your time and thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys too, and just keep watching. I think there's more to come very shortly.
Appreciate it. Nice. That's Dr. Luke Wood, president of Sac State.
Well, I told you there's a dreamer, there's a vision, there's a thought. You need people like that, and it's good to have a president that is so excited about this school, who went here, who has connections here, who is getting connections from the community, and wants what's best for the school. And wherever that lands, I think that's really, really exciting. So speaking of that, also wanted to get the perspective from the athletic director. I had a chance to go visit with Mark Orr, the athletic director at Sacramento State, and had a chance to catch up with him on all sorts of topics. And here's that chat with Mark Orr. All right. It's a pleasure to sit down with athletic director Mark Orr at Sacramento State. Anything going on, Mark? Anything busy in your days these days?
We have a bye week. This has been a very busy bye week for the Hornets. But, yes, lots happening here at Sac State. Obviously, the two announcements yesterday. The first, we had the Sacramento Kings, our great partners. Jason, as you know, are our partners with the Kings, Vivek and John Reinhardt and Matina, and just the great partners we have there have given us the opportunity, should we move conferences for whatever reason, which, by the way, we have not made any commitments that we're going to move conferences, but should we do that, they would offer up Golden One Center for us to play basketball games in, and just a testament to the type of partners the Kings have been with us, and very proud of our community leaders in the city of Sacramento just over the last few weeks of how supportive and how passionate they've been about Sacramento State. It's pretty cool to see.
And the second announcement, I'm guessing, was about the March Madness coming back again, too, and you guys kind of being the featured, I guess, program that runs it?
Yeah. March Madness is coming back to Sacramento, again, through a great partnership with the Golden One Center and the Sacramento Kings, and then also Visit Sacramento, and Mike Testa and Dave Eady and the team over there. We're bringing March Madness back to Sacramento in 2027. This is on top of us hosting the 2026 NCAA Women's Basketball Regionals at Golden One Center. And then obviously in 2023 we hosted the men's basketball first and second round. So this is the fifth time the NCAA is coming to Sacramento, to the Golden One Center with Sacramento State and Visit Sacramento, hosting what I would say March Madness is the premier sporting event in the United States. It's just great to be a part of it. It's a testament to our community and to Sacramento State, to the basketball community, the Sacramento community, that we can support those efforts.
Well, I want to get into the announcement that was, 1 week ago today about the stadium. But first I got to ask you about the Sac-12. So here's this group that comes kind of seemingly out of nowhere, a lot of movers and shakers, a lot of people that want what's best for this community. The Sac-12 seems pretty aggressive, seems like a unit that wants to get Sacramento out there. What's your thoughts on that group and what they're trying to do?
I love the Sac-12. I think it's great. I think to have local leaders in the Sacramento community care so much about Sacramento State and our student athletes and our community is tremendous. The work they've done in terms of getting the word out about how you can support Sac State and Sac State athletics has been invaluable. Obviously, securing, I want to say we're close to $40 million now in name, image, and likeness support from local businesses and community members is an effort that I never could have imagined that would take place. So and we'll talk a little bit more about the new stadium. Their support on us getting a new stadium built here at Sacramento State. So there are a lot of influential leaders, both political leaders, tribal leaders, to business owners and alumni. It's great. So very, very appreciative of what they've done so far.
It's kind of amazing how quickly. Look, Sacramento State, you guys here at school have built some great sports programs. Football's done some amazing things, but just kind of the Sac-12 in the news, whether it's the Mountain West Conference, whether it's the Big Sky, whether it's the Pac-12, it's just the amount of attention, that Sac-12 and the stadium and people talking about the Hornets probably even blows you away.
Yeah, it does. Sacramento is a market, as you know, Jason. We're a top 20 DMA in the country. It's 2.5 million people live here, and there's always been support for the Sacramento Kings and the River Cats and the Republic. And I've always felt that college sports, big-time Division I college sports, will work here in Sacramento. And we're starting to see it. I think this community, if we can put in a good product and obviously recruit the right student athletes, hire the right coaches, build the right facilities, play the right schedule, this community will rally behind the Hornets. And I think what you've seen over the last few weeks, you're starting to see that bubble up. And Sacramento is a sports town, a great sports town. And college sports is part of that. So it's been inspiring for me to see the outpouring of support and passion, for Sacramento. And we are very proud to have Sacramento on our uniforms and represent not only Sacramento State, but this city and this community and everything we do.
Well, what's exciting to me is no matter what happens conference alignment, because this is just a jungle out there, everything's changing all the time, but the stadium's happening. This is on the Sac-12's checklist. This has been on the university's checklist. And so you guys announced this a week ago. And just to see the initial support and where it potentially is going to go and whenever this is all developed, how exciting for you as the athletic directors to know that there is a new stadium coming for the Hornets.
Yeah, I said it last week. It's about time.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, you've been in many press boxes
yep.
at
all shapes and sizes.
Hornet Stadium.
Yeah.
Hornet Stadium was originally built in 1969. It was a capacity of 6,000 seats. It's hosted so many different events. Martin Luther King spoke at Hornet Stadium, and how memorable was that? And so many Causeway Classics, commencements, convocations, concerts. But it's aged. It's served its duty. The late great Fred Anderson expanded it back in the early '90s. We hosted some Olympic trials. We had the Sacramento Surge and the Gold Miners and the Sacramento Mountain Lions all playing there. Now's the time to build something new for, first and foremost, our students here at Sacramento State who deserve it, but also our student athletes, our alumni, and our community. We've been working on this. I know it's come to light over the last couple of weeks, but we've been working on this for the past several years, and I must give a lot of credit to President Nelson, who kind of started some of this plan. And then when President Wood came in last July of 23, we did a feasibility study to kind of determine our path for athletics. Stadium was at the top of the list. And we went to work, and we hired one of the best architectural firms in the nation to start our conceptual design. We released those renderings yesterday just so folks can see some of the concepts we're considering. And it's exciting. It's exciting. We have funding identified, and we're going to get going. And this is going to be a beautiful venue that will be used by our students for football, for rugby, for soccer, for intramural programs, all the different things that our students can use it for. We'll have an awesome student section that will be great. High priority will be the fan experience in the venue to ensure that the seating, the concessions, the merchandise, all those types of things, the audio visual, all those types of things are at the top of the top quality. And I'm excited to get going on it. It's been a long time coming.
I know in the press conference, too, besides all the benefits for the campus, you talked about community benefits, concerts could happen here. Mm-hmm. Maybe other tenants, other teams could share this. It feels like this. What kind of doors, I should say, does this open up for you and the university?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll start with our own students of making sure that we can supply them the facilities and the venues that they deserve. So that it always starts with our students, and I don't mean just student athletes. I mean all students. And then you mentioned the community. There is not another venue in this region outdoor venue that seats 25,000 or more. I think the closest one is the Oakland Coliseum, which, unfortunately or fortunately, the A's played their last game there, and they'll be relocating to Sacramento. But this is a venue that's going to serve this entire region, and we want to be that, and we want people to come to Sac State and enjoy their time. If they're not coming to a Hornet football game or soccer game, they're here for a concert, or they're here for commencement, or they're here for convocation, high school football, all different kinds of events and activities we want to use the stadium for. Professional sports organizations, whether it's soccer, that could be professional men's, professional women's. There's professional rugby, there's professional lacrosse. We would be open to anything, and we want to engage our community partners to get the most use out of the stadium venues we can. So
the announcements made a week ago, like I said, and you know the players who are already in for the Hornets. Mm-hmm. Did you immediately get a spike of others like, hey, wait a minute, I want in, I want to help out, I want to donate, whatever way, shape, or form that may be? Yeah,
since the announcement, the support went through the roof. So yes, we already had key funding mechanisms in place when we announced it last week. Since then, there's been so many others who want to get involved and support the project. So that's tremendous. And we appreciate that support, and I think there's more coming. I know there's more coming. Mm-hmm. So this is a project I'm real confident in getting completed in a timely manner, in an efficient manner, and it will be state of the art.
Yeah, I know you said, and I can't hold you to an answer here because timetables, constructions, that all moves. I mean, we know that the reality of that, but you said that in the press conference too, there could be a reality where maybe the Hornets play while construction's happening. Maybe it doesn't happen that way. You're kind of at liberty of the construction company, right?
Yeah, once we get a construction timeline and all those things in place, we'll be able to lay that out. We will certainly share with our stakeholders and our fans and our student athletes, obviously, of what that looks like. There's multiple ways it can go. I've seen construction where I want to say it's done in phases, but you're able to keep some seating up while you're working on one part of the venue. There's other times that, we may have to play in an alternative venue for a season, and we'll be ready for anything. Obviously it's there will be some sacrifices you have to make while you're under construction, but while you're under construction, that's a very good thing, a good problem to have.
Yeah. Seems like you guys are in a good spot as far as good problems to have. Sac-12 is feverishly working on their part. You guys are working on the stadium and building as best sports programs as you can. Feels like it's probably a good time to be at Sacramento State, isn't it?
It's a great time to be at Sacramento State. Obviously with all the leadership we have now with President Wood, he's been tremendous. He's an alum. There's, I know I love Sacramento, and I love Sacramento State.
He's got big dreams.
He loves it even more. He's a two-time alum, and this is him and his brother Josh were ASI presidents and vice presidents, and this is personal for them. It's personal for me, and we're gonna get this done. So it's a great time to be here at Sac State, to be here in Sacramento. All the exciting news with the Kings and the Republic and the Rivercats, the A's coming to town, Sacramento State doing what we're doing. So I got to think just being a sports fan in Sacramento right now is just tremendous, and makes me proud to be a native from here and call this my home. For those out there, you have my word that we're doing everything we can to make Sacramento State a place that all of us, whether you went to school here or you're a student here or you just live in Sacramento, make you proud. Make you proud to be from Sacramento, and this will be your college team you follow.
I got to imagine when you played football to when you were starting as an AD and working at St. Mary's to now being talking about where UCLA is, where Oklahoma plays, where NIL money, like these are things that probably would have never crossed your mind. I mean, how crazy is just the college landscape now?
Yeah, the college landscape is very volatile. It's changed a significant amount, even within the last 2-3 years. So very different. We're all having to adapt. Certainly conference realignment has drastically changed, who you play and fractured some rivalries across the country. And I never in a million years, being a football student athlete at Cal Berkeley, would have ever thought that, Cal Berkeley, right next to the Pacific Ocean, would be in an Atlantic Coast Conference. Yeah. But that's where we are. Right. And that's no disrespect to Cal. I think that was a decision they had to make based on the circumstances. But it's realignment has changed it. I was, being a former Pac-12 student athlete myself, I was disappointed to see the Pac-12 go down to 2 schools. And Washington State and Oregon State are tremendous institutions with long history. So I'm glad to see that the Pac-12 is trying to rebuild. The impact that has on other conferences and other schools, because Mountain West schools are moving and all this shuffling. It's fascinating to watch your Twitter and Instagrams every day to see what's happening on realignment. I would say for those out there, it's important to know that we don't control that. Like, as an athletic director here at Sacramento State, we don't control realignment. We don't control. Those are decisions made by university presidents and conference commissioners. There's not a sign-up for anything like that. Yeah. I think so. Our approach here at Sacramento State has always been and will continue to be, we're going to invest in our student athletes and our campus, put us in the best possible position to have success, to compete for championships, and we're doing that. That's why the stadium is important. That's why name, image, and likeness resources are important. All those things are important. If those lead to opportunities to consider FBS conferences and those kind of things, then those opportunities may or may not come. But that's not the motivation for building facilities and getting NIL support or getting scholarship support or getting fans to come out to games. I mean, that's what we do. Our students deserve it. Our student athletes deserve it. This community deserves it. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. But all the while, if this other stuff also brings attention to the program, bring it on, right?
Yeah. No, I love the attention. I love the amount of support, the big crowds. I'm excited about our football program. We lost a tough one to Northern Arizona, but we got a bye this week, and then Eastern Washington's coming to town, and I expect a big crowd and a great game there. And We're only in week 2 of the Big Sky Conference season, so I anticipate we'll be right in the thick of it, and still ranked in the top 20 in the nation. It's pretty remarkable. I think our sports information office told me, I want to say it's 43 straight weeks we've been in the national top 25 in football here, which was unheard of. I mean, I was here at Sac State when we had our first ranking, and we were so excited to know that it's been 43 straight weeks. It's pretty remarkable of sustained success with Hornet football. So as I said earlier, it's a great time to be part of Sac State, and a lot of momentum, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of excitement, and I'm proud to be in a position to lead it.
And one last thing for those that don't know, speaking of football, you're going to be on the committee for those that select the team, and you watch. I've seen you on the road. You're watching everybody play everything. So kind of give us an update on what that means, what that entails for you. Yeah,
there's 12 of us. We're not the Sac 12, but there's 12 of us that serve on the FCS selection committee. We have the honor and the duty and the privilege to select the playoff field for FCS football. We will seed the top 16 teams in the country and then select 8 at-large institutions. It's a significant responsibility. I take it very seriously because there are young men across the country training every day, working every day to try to get to the NCAA postseason in football. And I have a say on who goes and who doesn't. So I certainly try to watch as much FCS football as I can, and our committee meets regularly through the football season, and we've begun those meetings. I will be in Indianapolis for the selections, and hopefully I'm confident we'll get a great field for NCAA FCS football championships.
Are there rules for you regarding Sacramento State then?
Yeah, I won't be allowed to be in the room when Sacramento State's discussed. So if I know I've got.
Can you sway that?
Yeah, I know I've got that question. Can I vote for Sacramento State? No. I mean, there's obviously protections. If hopefully our team is in position for a bid. But yes, I won't be able to comment on Sacramento State. But that said, I think the Big Sky is strong again this year. And I would expect that there's multiple teams participating in the postseason. Yeah,
well, if they keep winning, they'll do their part anyway. It won't. But that's a fun time for you, for everything going on here. It's. I know you've probably had these visions too. It's an exciting time. So thanks for joining us, and we look forward to where this is going to take the Hornets.
Yeah, no, it's an exciting time. For those of you who listen, thank you, Jason, for the podcast, and those of you listening to the Stingers Up podcast. Encourage you. Come out and support the game next weekend, October 12th, Eastern Washington, here at home, 6 p.m. It's going to be a tremendous game. We'll have giveaways. We'll have a great atmosphere. Anticipate a big crowd. Come support the Hornets. It's going to be a fun one.
Finally, some home games.
Yes. We've had 4 of our first 5 on the road this year, but. You know what? I thought our team played well. We had opportunities both in the FBS games against San Jose State and Fresno State to get wins. San Jose State, we led for 3 quarters. Fresno, we got it down to a 1-score game in the second half, and that's what you hope. You hope you'd be in position to win those games, and we were.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for the time.
Thank you, Jason. I appreciate you. Thank you all out there continuing to support the Hornets and Stingers Up.
All right, there you go. Lots of things going on at Sacramento State, even during a bye week time. My thanks to President Dr. Luke Wood, to Mark Orr as well, the athletic director, and to all of you for listening this week on another edition of the Stingers Up podcast. We're back next week for another podcast episode, and we'll preview the Big Sky home opener versus Eastern Washington, who is on a bye week this week, as well as the Hornets. But until then, have a great week. We'll talk to you next week. Stingers Up.